Chapter 1. The Butcher's Blade. The cleaver comes down clean through the sirloin, separating meat from bone with a sound I've heard 10,000 times across 3 lifetimes. Muscle memory guides the blade. Angle it just so, apply pressure here, twist the wrist there. Same motion, whether you're breaking down beef or breaking down monsters. The comparison isn't accidental. Steel biting through flesh is the same whether that flesh comes from the market or from something that used to be human before it decided feeding on people was preferable to being one. The steady rhythm of cutting meat quiets something in me. Not hunger exactly, more like obligation, the kind that comes with vows made in blood to gods who don't forget. 3 centuries ago, I was Lekan Magating of the Kadatuan, chief of my tribe, also Babaylan, and I don't mean the kind you see in textbooks doing the binanog at cultural festivals, all red cloth and symbolic offerings for good harvest. I was the kind that summoned spirits and bound them to my will. The kind that went to war. We were descended from Datu Paubari, the legendary chief who married a goddess. Or so the stories went. What mattered was the Sidlak, the divine spark that ran in our bloodline, making the binding possible, making us warriors when we needed to be. The Aswang were Babaylan once too, long before my time, punished by the old gods for treachery, stripped of their powers, left to the monsters that prowled the night. They prayed to darker things instead. God answered. Dark magic in exchange for humanity. They transformed, started feeding on their own people, then on neighboring tribes. That's when they called us. Village after village, barangay after barangay. We came, we fought, we defended, we were fools. While my warriors and I answered a call from one sitio about an Aswang attack, another force, a larger one, came to our home, massacred everyone, men, women, children, my wife Adara, my son Eskandar, everyone I'd left behind to protect strangers. That's when we made the vow, the blood oath. Hunt every Aswang responsible, kill them all, never rest until the last one fell. We tried, God, we tried, but they were elusive. They bred through bruja brood mothers, multiplied faster than we could kill them. And eventually, my body gave out. I was old, slow, the fangs and claws caught up to me. First death. But the vow brought me back. Different body, different face, same memories flooding back when I hit 30. Same skills, same purpose, same curse. I hunted them through my second life, killed dozens. They still multiplied in places I couldn't reach. Second death, third life, now. This one. 21st century Manila, where the Aswang don't just prowl in darkness with claws and teeth. Now they have assault rifles, private armies. They hide among the elite, politicians, businessmen, celebrities. They've invested in cryptocurrency and stock exchanges. They're crime lords running drugs, human trafficking, organ markets. And me? I'm a cook, a butcher, running a diner called Cleaver's Grill in a building that's seen better decades. The roles reversed. Now I'm the one hiding behind another face. Only a few people and creatures know who I really am. My Sugo, my bound elementals, and the Liga of Babaylan. We're the ones in shadows now, hiding from the monsters we hunt. Because when we do hunt them, when we kill them, their protocol is simple. Use the law against us. File charges, get warrants, brand us as thugs, criminals, murderers. So we hide behind false names and hunt in silence. And so long as one Aswang remains, this vow keeps me coming back. Life after life. Curse or calling, depending on the day. Most days, curse. I finish separating the sirloin and start on the short ribs for caldereta. The morning prep routine helps, keeps my hands busy, keeps my mind. The hearth erupts. Flames billow out in a column of fire that shouldn't be possible from a brick oven designed for slow roasting. The fire takes shape. Vaguely humanoid, made of heat and light and 3 centuries of accumulated rage. You're thinking about Idara again. Akle's voice cuts through my mind like smoke in the eyes. Always Idara, always the failure. When will you think about the kills, the victories, when they start outnumbering the failures? I mutter, not looking up from the cutting board. 3 centuries and you're still counting losses instead of wins. Pathetic. The fire spirit has a point, but I'm not giving it the satisfaction. Aklei's been with me since the first vow, bound by blood and oath, following me across deaths and reincarnations. The fire elemental embodies every aggressive impulse I've ever had, every rage I've suppressed, every desire to burn the world down and start over. Which means Akle is extremely annoying. The fish tank in the corner ripples. There's no fish in it, just water, rocks, and some plastic plants. The water rises, defying physics, shaping itself into something almost human, translucent, calm. Peace, fire brother. Agos's thought flows cool through my consciousness. The past cannot be changed, only honored. Thank you, Pinsan Agos, I say, using the term for cousin, because that's what they are. Family by oath, if not by blood. At least someone here has sense. Sense is boring, Aklai hisses, flames crackling. Sense doesn't hunt. Sense doesn't kill. Sense doesn't... The air conditioning vent rattles. A gust of wind spirals out, taking form. Wispy, constantly shifting, never quite solid. Buhawi manifests last, as always, fashionably late to any argument. Oh, good. Are we fighting about the past again? Buhawi's thought bounces around my skull like a pinball. Because I have opinions about dwelling on 3-century-old trauma instead of living in the present. All of you, shut up. I'm working. I'm not. I'm arguing with spirits only I can hear, standing alone in my diner at 5 in the morning, talking to myself like a crazy person, which, after 300 years of this, I might actually be. The diner itself is Spartan, 12 tables, all mismatched, a bar counter with stools that don't quite match either, a karaoke machine that gets used exactly never because I hate karaoke. Vintage photos on the walls. Old Manila, old houses, memorabilia from eras I actually remember living through, all properly maintained because if I'm going to be stuck running a restaurant, it's going to be a clean one. Customers serve themselves from the counter. Deposit dirty dishes in the collection area. The dishes disappear into the industrial washer where Agos does what water does best, cleaning efficiently and without complaining. Unlike some elementals I could name, Aklai handles the hearth, maintaining perfect cooking temperatures. Buhawi manages ventilation and cooling. It's a good system, efficient. The food is what brings people in. Babaylan, mostly, and the occasional supernatural creature who knows what we are. Word of mouth only, no social media, no vloggers. I hate vloggers. The exterior is intentionally nondescript, just a sign, Cleaver's Grill, nothing fancy, nothing that attracts attention. That's how I like it. Footsteps on the stairs. Heavy, Javi, my sous chef, appears carrying crates of vegetables from the market. He's 23, culinary school dropout, doesn't know what I actually am, thinks the elementals are just quirky kitchen equipment. Boss, this rain, he complains, setting the crates down with a wet thump. Water drips from his jacket. It's not stopping, 3 days straight. The flooding in Bagong Silang is bad. Really bad. They're evacuating people. Uh-huh. I start dicing the beef for menudo. Some of the evacuation centers are full, people sleeping on the street, and the rain just keeps... Javi, vegetables, prep them. I'm just saying, boss, we might not get customers today because of the weather. Maybe we should, I don't know, do something? Civic duty? Feed people? I look up, glare. You want to do charity work? With what money? Ingredients cost money, gas costs money, your salary costs money, we're not a charity. He has a point, Buhawi chimes in, wind rattling the vent. All this food will go to waste if nobody comes. Feeding the hungry is honorable, Agos adds, water rippling thoughtfully. Absolutely not, I say out loud, then realize Javi is staring at me. Boss? I said prep the vegetables. We're a business, not a... You're becoming soft anyway, Akle interrupts. Might as well embrace it. Feed the hungry. Pretend you're not a broken killer hiding behind an apron. The fire billows aggressively. Javi steps back from the hearth. Is the oven okay? It's really going today. I close my eyes. 3 centuries of this. 3 centuries of voices in my head, arguing, commenting, never shutting up. Sometimes I miss being alone in my own skull, except I was never really alone. Not since the vow. Fine, I snap. Fine, we close the restaurant today, pack up containers, we'll do a feeding program. But only for today, Javi. One day, then we're back to business. Understand? Javi's face lights up like I just told him Christmas came early. Really? Boss, that's... Don't make me regret this. Go pack now. He scrambles off, grinning. Kid's too optimistic for his own good. You're becoming soft, Pinsan. Akle's thought is almost gleeful, flames dancing high. About time, Agos murmurs. I knew you had a heart somewhere under all that cynical butcher exterior. Buhawi spirals excitedly. I have a business to run and overhead to manage, I mutter. This is economics, not charity. My phone rings. Unknown number. I consider ignoring it, then see the Liga prefix. Damn it, I answer. What? Torres, it's Commander Reyes. We need you at the Bagong Silang flood control site. We've got disrupted spirits, ghouls feeding on. Not interested. Elias, this is serious. The flooding is supernatural in origin. Sacred boundaries were violated during construction. Now we've got human error, I interrupt. Corrupt politicians, equally corrupt engineers. They cause this with their greed. Let them suffer the consequences. I don't meddle in human affairs. People are dying. People are always dying, Commander. That's what people do. Call me when it's monsters doing the killing, not incompetent bureaucrats. I hang up before she can argue. That was rude, Agos observes. That was efficient. I return to prep work. The Liga has protocols now, departments, red tape. Ever since they brought in that ex-military, what's her name? Commander Reyes, Buhawi supplies helpfully. Right, her. Turned the whole operation into a bureaucracy. I prefer working alone. No commissions, no committee meetings, no. The door opens. I smell motorcycle exhaust before I see her. Anya steps in, shaking rain from her denim jacket. Late 30s, masculine features, all athletic grace and competence. Ex-Babaylan, now freelance handler. She connects independent contractors like me with clients who have supernatural problems. She's good at it. She's also exactly the kind of woman I'd be interested in, if not for the vow. But 3 centuries of watching loved ones die teaches you, don't get close, don't care, don't. Morning, Elias. She hangs her helmet on the coat rack like she owns the place. Still brooding? Still annoying? I counter. She grins. Always, we need to talk business. I'm busy. You're hiding behind prep work because the Liga called and you hung up on them. She slides onto a bar stool. Word travels fast. Word can travel back out the door. The Liga's a mess, she agrees, which surprises me enough that I look up. Too departmentalized now. Everything's protocols and procedures. Remember when it was just Babaylan hunting monsters? Now it's meetings about meetings. Exactly, which is why I work alone. Which is why you need me. She pulls out a folder. Golden Legacy Funeral Homes, upscale operation in Binondo. They've lost 6 cadavers over the last 2 weeks. High-profile clients, the Tans, the Cojuancos, old money. Not my problem. Then yesterday, their security guard vanished, Mang Ben. 62, 3 kids, 20 years on the job. This morning, one of the Liga's Babaylan went in to investigate. Sister Carmen. She hasn't come back out. I pause mid-cut. Carmen? The healer? Yeah. They sent a healer into a combat situation because their combat specialists are all tied up at the flood zone. Anya's expression hardens. That's what protocols get you. Dead Babaylan in wrong assignments. She's got a point. I hate when she has points. Still not my problem. 40,000 pesos. My hand still's on the cleaver. What? Client's desperate, willing to pay 40,000 for resolution. That's your rate, no Liga commission, clean, simple, in and out. I do the math automatically. Roof repairs I've been putting off. Wi-Fi upgrade. New surveillance equipment for the back alley where things sometimes try to break in. 40,000 would cover all of it. Time sensitive, Anya continues. They want you this afternoon. Will you take it? Say yes, all 3 elementals chorus simultaneously, which never happens. Fine, this afternoon. Send me the details. Already did. She stands, grabs her helmet. Oh, and Elias? What? When's the last time you went on a date? Finally! Aklai's flames surge. Someone addresses the elephant in the room. You should pursue her, Ago suggests calmly. She's compatible, strong, understanding of your... Plus, she's hot, and you need to get laid, Buhawi adds helpfully. Not interested, I say flatly. Anya raises an eyebrow. I didn't specify with whom. Still not interested, the vow. The vow is 300 years old. Maybe it's time to... The vow is eternal. That's what blood oath to the gods means. Eternal. Everyone I've cared about across 3 lifetimes has died violently. I'm not adding to that list. That's fear talking, Aklay accuses, not wisdom. That's pattern recognition, I snap, which is what you develop after 3 centuries of the same results. Anya looks at me for a long moment, then sighs. Your loss. I'll send the funeral home details. Don't be late. She leaves. The door closes. I'm alone again. Except not. The elementals manifest fully now. Akle as a pillar of fire, Agos as a human-shaped column of water, Buhawi as a miniature cyclone. They only do this when we're alone, when there's no one to see. You're being ridiculous, Akle states. The woman is interested. You're interested. The math is simple. The math includes dead lovers across 3 lifetimes. I'm not doing it again. But no. I point the cleaver at the fire spirit. And before you 3 start a full argument, remember, I can bind you back to your domains, lock you down, make you silent for a week. You wouldn't, Buhawi challenges. I set down the cleaver, start the binding incantation. Old words in a dead language, the same words from the original vow. Apoy na nakagapo sa dugo. Cut. Okay, all 3 chorus. We'll stop. Good. I finished the beef prep. Now, unless you want to spend the next week in silence, I suggest you focus on your jobs. Akle, preheat for the adobo. Agos, check the water pressure. Buhawi, the ventilation's been rattling. Fix it. They disperse, grumbling, but they obey. That's the thing about elementals bound by blood oath. They're loyal, eternally loyal. They follow you through death and rebirth. They never leave. They're also the only family I have left. I look around the empty diner, 12 tables, vintage photos, memorabilia from lives I've lived and lost. A karaoke machine nobody uses, a hearth that burns hotter than it should, a fish tank with no fish, air vents that rattle with personality. This is my life now. Cooking, cutting, hiding, hunting when called, trying not to care about anyone because caring gets them killed. It's not much, but it's mine. And somewhere in this flooded city, monsters are moving. Aswang adapting to new technologies. Tamawo exploiting human corruption. Ghouls feeding in forgotten places. They think they're safe. They think they've evolved beyond the old hunter. But the vow doesn't care about evolution. The vow doesn't care about 3 centuries or 3,000. The vow just cares about blood, and I'm very, very good at spilling it. I pick up the cleaver again. Back to work. The meat won't prep itself. Neither will the monsters. But the monsters can wait until after lunch service. Professional standards, after all. End. Chapter 1. Chapter 2. Feeding the hungry. The rain had stopped, but Manila still wept. Water dripped from broken gutters, pooled in craters where asphalt used to be, turned entire streets into rivers of garbage and sewage. The evacuation center, a gymnasium near the Bagong Silang flood basin, smelled like wet concrete, unwashed bodies, and desperation. I stirred the cauldron and tried not to think about how much this was costing me. The broth bubbled, bone marrow releasing its fat into the golden liquid, mixing with garlic, bagoong, chunks of beef I'd been saving for paying customers. Potatoes and saba bananas floated like life rafts, rice steamed in borrowed aluminum trays, comfort food, the kind that sticks to your ribs and reminds you that you're still alive. More salt, Javi muttered, wiping sweat from his face with a rag that had seen better days. And chili. These people need warmth. These people need their government to not steal flood control money, I said. But I added the salt anyway. The line stretched past the gym entrance, mothers with babies wrapped in damp blankets, kids with hollow eyes, old men staring at nothing. Everything they owned washed away in 3 days of rain that shouldn't have been possible, but was, because corrupt politicians and equally corrupt engineers had pocketed billions meant for proper drainage, had violated sacred boundaries encoded in Manila's oldest city plans, had pissed off a river god in the process. Human problems, I'd told Commander Reyes. Let them suffer. And here I was, ladling soup like some kind of saint. You're soft, Akle hissed from the portable gas burner where I'd hidden him. The flames danced higher than they should, feeding the masses like a hero. Disgusting. Compassion is strength, Agos murmured from the water cooler I'd brought. Not weakness. I ignored both and focused on the girl in front of me, maybe 8 years old, hands shaking as she held out a cracked plastic bowl. Salamat po, she whispered. I filled it to the brim. Keina anak. She scurried away, clutching the bowl like treasure, which, in this place, it was. The line kept moving, mothers, children, elderly. I ladled and served and tried not to meet anyone's eyes because meeting eyes meant seeing the misery, and seeing the misery meant feeling something, and feeling something was dangerous. 3 centuries taught me, don't get attached, everyone dies, everything ends. But the kid reminded me of, no, not going there. You're thinking about Iskandar again? Aklai observed. Your son? The one who died while you were off hunting? Shut up, I muttered. Javi glanced at me. Boss? Nothing. Keep the rice coming. First responders arrived next. Firefighters, police, volunteers who'd been pulling bodies from the flood for 3 days straight, mud-streaked, exhausted, moving like zombies because zombies at least didn't have to think about what they'd seen. They hesitated at first, pride maybe or embarrassment, but the smell broke them. One by one, they accepted bowls, slumped against walls, let the warmth seep into bones that had forgotten what warm felt like. Then the gym went quiet. I looked up from the cauldron and saw why. The Babaylan had arrived, black fatigues marked with sigils I'd designed 2 centuries ago in my second life, moving like shadows because that's what we were, shadows hunting shadows, protecting people who didn't know we existed and wouldn't thank us if they did. At their head, Field Commander Santos, mid-40s, built like a boxer, face carved from exhaustion and old scars. His blade, a campilan longer than my arm, still had ichor on it, the kind that doesn't wash off with water. Elias. His voice was gravel mixed with broken glass. We've driven them back for now. I ladled a generous portion, handed it over. You look like hell, Commander. Been there. This is worse. He accepted the bowl like it was sacred. But this is heaven. Behind him, the others filed in. Some I recognized, most I didn't. The Liga had grown since I'd stepped back. New faces, young faces, too young. We could have used your muscle in the field, rumbled a voice I did recognize. Barrios, big guy, muscles on muscles, mean as a snake. 53 years old now, which made him ancient for active field work. He'd also been 10 when I'd pulled him from an Aswang warren in my second life, trained him myself before moving on. But the kid wolfing down soup like he hadn't eaten in 3 days, skinny, maybe 22, cocky grin that screamed inexperience, he didn't know that. You Babaylan? The kid swaggered up, bowl empty, looking for a fight. You should have been with us in the battle instead of cowering behind your table. Should have used your blade instead of your ladle. The gym went quiet. I stared at him, not offended, just tired. This was what the Liga had become. Arrogant kids with more power than sense. Let me burn him, Aklai suggested, flames suddenly hot against my leg where the portable chamber sat. Just a little. Teach him respect. We stand ready, Agos added, water rippling in the cooler. I set down my ladle, looked at the kid, really looked, saw the ruined kriss at his belt, the way it pulsed with barely contained elemental energy, saw the confidence born of never having faced something he couldn't beat, saw myself 300 years ago, right before reality taught me better. It has come to this, I muttered to my Sugo. The Liga I built is full of egoistic boys. The kid flexed, actually flexed, like muscles mattered against someone who'd been killing monsters since before his grandparents were born. His kriss pulsed brighter. The elemental inside it was fire type. Young, aggressive, eager, poor thing. Pagalin, I whispered. One word, old Cebuano, the command for dismissal. The kid's eyes went wide as his elemental, the one he'd probably spent years learning to bind, months training to control, was simply unsummoned, yanked back to whatever plane it had come from. Gone. His kriss went dark, his face went white. Most Babaylan had one Sugo, some had 2, if they were lucky and skilled. Binding an elemental took time, training, and a compatible spirit. Using one in combat took even more practice. He'd just lost his in a single word, like I'd taken candy from a baby. He charged, actually charged me, fists raised like he was going to. Barrios's boot sweep caught him mid-stride, sent him tumbling across the floor into a table. Enough, Suarez, Barrios growled. Stay down. Then he looked at me, really looked, and smiled that wicked little smile that meant he'd figured it out. You still have it, maestro. The word echoed through the gym like a gunshot. Maestro. There was only one maestro in Liga history, the one who'd founded it, the legend who supposedly died a century ago. Every Babaylan in the room was suddenly staring at me. Fantastic! Commander Santos stepped forward, fury in his eyes, but not directed at me, at his people. I'm sorry, Elias, for this, for all of it. It's fine. I went back to stirring. They had a rough day. We all have. Still, they're fighting things that want to eat them. They're exhausted, scared, acting out as normal. I kept my voice level. Didn't mention that in my day we'd have disciplined Suarez properly. Didn't mention that the Liga I'd built had standards. With our numbers dwindling, I can't blame them. Santos nodded, appreciated the out I'd given him. We lost 3 today, the haunts that came up with the flood. They're worse than usual. Sacred boundaries were violated, I said. The things that were bound by those boundaries are loose now. You're fighting spillover from human corruption. Which brings me to why I'm here. Santos lowered his voice. We need you back. Official capacity. This flood situation is... Not interested. Elias, I said no. I do contract work. I don't do politics. The Liga has become... I gestured vaguely at the room. Departmentalized, bureaucratic. You've got protocols now, committees. I work better alone. You always worked better alone, Santos admitted. But this is different. The flood's supernatural origin, the violated boundaries, the political corruption, it's all connected, and we're outmatched. Then hire more Babaylan, train them better, stop sending healers into combat situations. His jaw tightened. Sister Carmen? Yeah, Anya told me. That's on you, Commander, on your protocols and your resource management. In my day, we matched specialists to threats. In your day, you ran everything. In my day, people didn't die from stupid assignments. We stared at each other. Old argument, never resolved. Finally, Santos sighed. Will you at least consult? Off the books. I'll pay your rate. I've got a contract this afternoon. Funeral home. Missing corpses, missing people, probably Aswang. Everything's probably Aswang with you. Everything usually is. I ladled him more soup. Eat. You look like death. He did. They all did. The Babaylan sat among the evacuees, their presence both comfort and reminder. They'd fought the haunts, the drowned ones, the whispering shades, the things that fed on grief and chaos. They'd won, barely, and now they sought comfort same as everyone else. I stirred the pot, watched the marrow glisten, tried not to think about how similar this was to my first life, feeding warriors after battle. How nothing really changed across 3 centuries except the weapons and the excuses. Elias? The voice was different, female, professional. I looked up and forgot how to breathe. She was maybe 30, Spanish-Filipino features, light brown skin, dark hair, pulled back practically, eyes that were deep and thoughtful. She wore a DPWH engineer's vest over a blouse that had seen better days, carried a clipboard like a shield. She was beautiful in the way that happens when someone isn't trying to be natural, unaware, just existing in her own skin. And I was 300 years old and knew better than this. Oh, no, Aklai cackled. You're interested. This is hilarious. Bowl? I managed. Yes, please. She held it out, professional smile. Thank you for doing this. The evacuees needed just soup. I filled her bowl, maybe a little too full. Nothing special. She ate, savored it, actually closed her eyes and made a sound that did things to my 3 centuries dormant libido. Remember the oath, I thought desperately. Remember Adara, remember Amalia, remember... What's an engineer doing with a bunch of hoodlums? I asked because I'm an idiot. She smiled. Full lips, genuine warmth. I'm their consultant. Maya, Commander Santos called over. Careful, that man will break your heart. She turned. Uncle? Uncle, of course. Because my life needed more complications. Santos approached, grinning like he'd just won something. Elias, this is my niece, Maya Santos. She's clean. Not with the BGC boys who got caught in the Ghost Project scam. She just got hired by the new DPWH administration to help fix this mess. He looked at her. Maya, this is Elias Torre, and yes, before you ask, That Elias Torres? Her eyes went wide. The look, that sickening look of recognition and awe, like I'd just walked on water or turned water into wine or some other miracle I absolutely did not deserve credit for. I hated that look. I also maybe wanted her to keep looking at me like that, which was worse. This is delicious, Akle crowed. Flames shot up from the burner. You're doomed, Pinsan. Doomed. I'm nobody special, I said flatly. Just a cook. You're the... Maya stopped herself, looked at her uncle, who nodded. You're the founder, the first Babaylan of the modern Liga. I'm a butcher who hunts monsters. The Liga was an accident. Not true. I'd built it deliberately in my second life, but I wasn't about to explain that. Your uncle runs it now. I just consult sometimes. He's being modest, Santos said. He taught most of our combat doctrine, designed half our equipment, and he's the only Babaylan I know who's bound 3 elementals and survived. Maya was still staring. I wanted to hide or kiss her. Possibly both. The oath, I reminded myself. Remember the oath. Remember how everyone you love dies violently. But she was beautiful and interested and looking at me like... My phone buzzed, saved by the bell. Anya. Your 5 p.m. appointment is confirmed. Don't be late. 5 p.m., 2 hours with traffic and flooding. I needed to leave now. Commander, excuse me. I pulled off my apron. Got a contract. Anya's calling it in. The funeral home? Yeah. Be careful. Sister Carmen was good. If she didn't come back, I know. I handed the ladle to Javi. Finish up, then take tomorrow off. I'll do prep. Javi nodded, already serving the next person in line. I turned to the gas burner, whispered the summoning. Makarika pinsan aklay. The ethereal flame separated from the physical fire, invisible to most, but blazing clear in my sight. It coalesced into a miniature form, then flowed into the tube hidden in my sleeve, disappearing into the portable chamber in my jacket. Old trick. I'd been doing it for 3 centuries. Nobody ever saw it. Except when I turned to leave, I caught Maya staring, not at me, at the space where Aklai had been. She'd seen it. She'd actually seen the summoning, the transference, the... She saw, Buhawi breathed, manifesting briefly from the air vent. How did she see? Most Babaylan couldn't see that. Even advanced ones. It was too fast, too subtle, too... Maya met my eyes, smiled. A small, wondering smile that said she knew exactly what she'd seen and was impressed by it. Oh no, oh hell, the oath, the vow, the 3 centuries of everyone I loved dying, but she saw, she understood. She recognized magic when most people saw nothing. I have to go, I said to no one in particular. It was nice to meet you, Maya said. Still smiling, still looking at me like I was something special. You too. Good luck with the promotion. Engineer. I turned and walked fast, not running, just walking with extreme purpose toward the exit and away from complications. You're running, Akle observed gleefully. I'm tactically retreating. From a woman. From entanglements, from attachments, from feelings, Agos added gently. You're afraid of caring again. I'm being smart. Everyone I care about dies. I'm 300 years of evidence. I'm not adding her to the list. You don't know that she'd die, Buhawi argued. I don't know that she wouldn't, and I'm not gambling with someone else's life to find out. I pushed through the gym doors into Manila's wet, garbage-strewn afternoon. Traffic was hell. The flood zone was worse. And somewhere in Binondo, a funeral home had lost corpses and people and probably had a nest of something nasty in its basement. Normal problems, monster problems. Not beautiful engineer problems who could see magic and smiled like she understood 3 centuries of loneliness. I had 40,000 pesos to earn and an oath to keep and absolutely zero interest in breaking patterns that had kept me alive across multiple lifetimes. Absolutely zero. Even if her smile had made me feel something I'd been sure was dead. You're lying to yourself, all 3 elementals chorused. Shut up and get in the van. We've got work to do. I climbed into my beat-up delivery van, started the engine, and drove toward Binondo and problems I knew how to solve. Behind me, in that gymnasium, a woman who could see magic watched me leave. And I absolutely, Definitely was not thinking about her. Not at all. End chapter 2. Chapter 3. The Golden Labyrinth. The Golden Legacy. Funeral home was what happened when Spanish colonial architecture got drunk and had a one-night stand with modern Filipino excess. All marble columns and gold leaf with flat-screen TVs showing memorial slideshows and air conditioning cold enough to preserve the living along with the dead. It reeked. Formaldehyde, lilies, expensive desperation. And underneath it all, something else. Something wrong. I stood in the grand foyer, ignoring the velvet drapes and the oppressive quiet, and waited for someone to acknowledge I existed. "This place is obscene," Akle muttered from the chamber in my jacket. "Too much gold, not enough fire." "Rich people," I said under my breath, "they think money buys immortality. Does it? You tell me. You've been around for 3 centuries, same as me." Fair point. A door opened. The funeral director emerged. Mr. Ephraim Sai, small and fussy in a perfectly tailored barong Tagalog. His face shining with sweat despite the Arctic temperature. His eyes were panic dots in a sea of worry. "Mr. Torres, thank God you're here." He rushed over, hand outstretched, then seemed to think better of actually touching me. Smart man. This is an absolute disaster. You have no idea the profile of the clients we've lost." "I have an idea," I said, voice flat. 2 employees and 1 Liga operative went into your basement and didn't come back. That's my profile." "Yes, well, exactly. The operative, Sister Carmen, wasn't it? She was very professional, very thorough. She assured us she could handle." He wrung his hands. "I need those bodies back, Mr. Torres. The families are threatening lawsuits, our reputation, our legacy." "Save the sales pitch, Sai. Where's the last known location?" He blinked at my tone. Not used to being interrupted, probably. Rich people usually weren't. "The old sublevel. It's a maze down there. Original vaults from when this was a private mansion. We sealed most of it after the last flood, but Rico, our security guard, he heard something, and then Sister Carmen followed and—" "Stop. Just show me the entrance." The entry to the sublevel was disguised as a utility closet. The moment Sai opened the door, the smell hit me. Damp, sulfurous, like old rot and bad drains and something else. Something organic and wrong. "I'll take it from here," I told Sai. "Shouldn't I? Don't you need backup? Or equipment? Or—" "I've got everything I need. Close the door behind me and don't open it until I come back up." "And if you don't come back? Then you've got bigger problems than lawsuits." I stepped through. The door closed behind me. Darkness swallowed everything. "Akle." Light. The air beside me shimmered. Fire bloomed, not a roaring bonfire, but a compact, focused orb floating near my shoulder. Akle wasn't about spectacle. He was about control. Tactical heat for enclosed spaces. Finally, his thought hissed through my mind. "Something interesting. Though you smell terrible, Pinsan. When did you last shower?" "This morning, before the feeding program." "Ah, yes, the charity work, where you met the engineer." I ignored that and pulled my cleaver, Liwanag, the one I'd carried across 3 lifetimes, reforged each time, but always the same blade. The ritual markings along its edge glowed faintly in Akle's light. "We're here to recover bodies. Nothing else." "Is that what you told yourself? Just recovering? Not hunting? Not killing?" Akle's light pulsed. "You're lying to yourself, friend. Same way you lied about not being interested in that engineer. She's an asset. A consultant. That's it. An asset you couldn't stop looking at. An asset who made you feel something." "Focus," I growled. "We're working." The corridor was narrow, slick with moisture. Pipes dripped, shadows danced in Akle's light. The smell intensified, rot and vinegar and something animal. "You haven't looked at a woman, really looked, in 90 years, Akle continued. "Because fire elementals don't know when to shut up. Not since you left Isla. The vow demands chastity because you think love is the source of the curse. The vow demands vengeance. It demands focus. Attachments lead to distraction. Distraction leads to death. The vow demands blood, not celibacy. You added that part yourself because you're afraid." "I've had enough death, Akle. You know the price." "The price is fear," he shot back. "And isolation, not piety. You keep yourself locked down and Your own fire elemental, am starved. You know my nature. I respond to heat, to passion, to... Don't finish that thought. Why not? It's true. You deny the fuel. You're terrified of your own flame. That engineer Maya and that lawyer Isla, they're kindling, and you're leaving them out in the rain. I said stop. Make me lakan liab. I planted my feet. The argument was always the same. Aklai saw my abstinence as spiritual starvation. Fire needed fuel. Passion fed power. And I'd been running on fumes for decades because everyone I'd ever loved had died screaming. The smell suddenly got worse. The corridor opened into a larger chamber, collapsed section of the original vaults. The air here was thick, cold, heavy, with palpable hunger. Too late to stop now, Aklay observed. Then I saw movement, low to the ground, scuttling. Incoming! I didn't need to see them clearly to know. The smell, vinegar and rotting meat, was unmistakable. Kalam Ang, Aswang variant, half ghoul, half zombie, all hunger. A wet, tearing shriek filled the chamber. Two of them launched from the darkness. Elongated limbs from years of digging, red eyes glowing feral, rotting flesh slapping stone. Fast, faster than normal Ungo scavengers. The argument evaporated. My mind snapped into singular focus. Kill. I didn't think about the vow or Isla or Maya. I thought about geometry, momentum, speed. I met the first Kalamong mid-leap. Pure Kali, no magic, just blade work. Parried its claw, stepped inside its reach, drove Liwanag through its ribs toward the weak spiritual anchor near where its heart used to be. The blade cut through rot like butter. As I pulled free, the second one hit my back. Wet impact, sharp burning as teeth sank into my shoulder, foul, infectious bite. Akle! Finally! The compact orb exploded into a curtain of white-hot flame, enveloping both the Kalamang and me. The fire didn't hurt. Aklai was bound to my sidlak, but the heat was brutal. The ghoul screamed, high and desperate. Its unstable spiritual structure couldn't handle ritual fire. I spun in the confusion, brought Liwanag down in a wide arc. The head tumbled. The body collapsed into smoldering ash and spoiled meat. Silence. Heavy and absolute. I stood there gasping, feeling the dull throb where it had bitten me. I'd need salt and vinegar. Fast. See? Akle's light returned to neutral. That's what happens when you stop arguing and just burn. Shut up. I stepped over the ash pile, found what I was looking for, a cracked stone coffin, exposed by collapse in the retaining wall, a path straight to the sewers. But these were just scavengers. The number of missing bodies meant something was feeding them, managing them. This was organized. Something bigger is running this operation, I confirmed, kneeling to retrieve Sister Carmen's Liga badge from the ash. These things don't organize alone. It took 20 more minutes of searching. I found the bodies. Rico, the security guard, already half consumed. Sister Carmen, infected but intact enough to recover. I wrapped them carefully, found 2 more Kalamang and put them down fast. Then I had to haul everything back up. 2 corpses, 2 severed Kalamang heads, for proof. My shoulder was screaming, the infection was starting to spread. I really needed that salt. Back in Sai's office, the funeral director and his lawyer, severe woman in a power suit, were waiting. I dumped the Kalam Ang heads, wrapped in black plastic, onto the mahogany desk, set Sister Carmen's carefully wrapped body beside the leather sofa. The stench immediately filled the room. The lawyer gasped, reeling back. Sai turned green. "What in God's name is that?" the lawyer shrieked. "We hired you to find criminals, Mr. Torres, not bring us monster heads." I wiped blood and soot from Liwanag onto Sai's expensive rug. "You wanted human criminals? Call the police." My voice was cold, flat. "You hire a Babaylan because you have a spiritual problem. Your funeral home has a Kalamang nest in the sublevel. The recent floods opened a path from the sewers. I recovered the bodies and cleared the immediate threat." "The nest is definitely still there," Akle murmured. "You're bluffing about immediate threat." "I can leave these here for your morning viewings," I continued, staring at Sai, "or you can thank me for solving your contamination problem." Sai, defeated by stench and horror, waved weakly. Fine, Mr. Torres, just dispose of them, please." The contract was for recovery, clearing the full Kalamang nest, structural integrity work, sealing the breach, preventing recurrence. That's a separate job. And the price just went up, significantly. The lawyer sputtered. You can't just. I can leave the heads. Let you explain to your clients why their loved one's wakes smell like a charnel house. Or you can accept new terms. Sai looked at the heads, looked at me, made the smart choice. Send the proposal. We'll review it. You'll accept it because I'm the only one who can fix this properly. I turned to leave. Don't call me back until you've signed. I walked out, leaving them in their stench-filled horror. The Grand Foyer was hosting a wake. Expensive cars lined the street. Lilies and grief thick in the air. Rich people mourning other rich people while pretending death was somehow optional. I headed for the exit, shoulder throbbing, needing salt and whiskey in equal measure. Then I stopped, dead cold. Standing near a massive orchid arrangement offering condolences with ethereal grace was a woman I hadn't seen in 15 years, Isla Estrella. She was still devastating, flawless skin, gold eyes, the unmistakable mark of Tamawo heritage set against sharp human intelligence, black coat perfectly tailored, every inch the abogado ng liwanag at dilim, the spiritual lawyer who navigated both human and fey law with equal brilliance. My ex-fiancé, my first real love after Amalia, the reason the vow became absolute. She looked up. Those gold eyes met mine, muddy, fire-scarred, bleeding from a kalamang bite. Her composure broke, just for a fraction of a second, just enough to show she recognized something, but not me. How could she? Different face, different body, same soul, but she didn't know about the reincarnations. I'd never told her, just left 15 years ago with a note saying I couldn't be what she needed. Oh, Akle breathed. That's a fire I haven't felt in a long time, and you said you had no attachments. I didn't move, didn't breathe. She was still beautiful, still deadly to my peace, still everything I'd run from because loving her meant she'd eventually die, and I'd remember it forever. Her eyes narrowed slightly. Professional assessment, lawyer's instinct kicking in. I turned, walked fast toward the exit, not running, just moving with extreme purpose away from complications I absolutely could not handle right now. Coward, Akle hissed, tactically retreating from a woman, from entanglements. My shoulder was on fire, the infection spreading. I needed salt, needed to get out of this building before. Excuse me, her voice, still silk over steel, still capable of stopping me dead. I kept walking. Sir, you're bleeding. Do you need medical? I'm fine. I pushed through the exit doors into Manila's wet afternoon. Behind me, through the glass, I saw her standing there, watching, those gold eyes calculating, curious, not quite convinced. 15 years, different face. She didn't know me, but some part of her recognized something, some echo of what we'd been. This is getting complicated, Akle observed. It was already complicated. I climbed into my van, started the engine. Now it's just impossible. Maya this morning, Isla tonight. The universe had a sick sense of humor. Or the vow was testing me, reminding me why attachments were dangerous, why love was a luxury I couldn't afford. I drove toward home through flooded streets, shoulder burning, heart doing things it hadn't done in 15 years. And absolutely, definitely not thinking about either woman. Not at all. Liar, all three elementals chorused. Shut up, all of you. We've got salt to buy and an infection to treat and absolutely zero interest in romantic complications. The rain started again. Because of course it did. Manila wept. I drove. And somewhere behind me, two women who could see magic existed in a world I'd tried very hard to leave behind. 3 centuries of experience said this would end badly, but for the first time in 90 years, some stupid part of me didn't care. End. Chapter 3. Chapter 4. The price of the vow. The 20-minute ride back to Cleaver's Grill was a blur of gridlock traffic and escalating cold. The Kalamang bite, just a sting when it happened, was now radiating waves of icy nausea through my entire body, not just physical, spiritual corruption fighting Akale's fire in my bloodstream. My vision tunneled, hands shaking on the wheel. I didn't use the back entrance. Stumbled through the front door, kicked it wide. The bell's ding sounded like an execution gong. The diner was empty, except it wasn't. Maya Santos sat at the counter, laptop open, nursing tea. She looked up, her expression shattered. Elias, what the hell happened to you? She scrambled off the stool, but I didn't answer. The poison hit its apex, my lungs seized. Dizzying cold rushed up my spine, overriding Akle's frantic internal heat. Floor tilted. I felt my knees hit tile, cleaver clattered. The pain in my shoulder exploded into white-hot agony. I tried to push up, but my body wouldn't obey. Drowning in spiritual corruption. Poison, I rasped. Salt, vinegar, now. Then everything went black. The next sensation was cold, then hot, then cold again. Someone knelt over me, smell of linen and something herbal, strong, medicinal. I tasted brine and vinegar on my tongue. A cold poultice pressed hard against the bite. The cold fought the poison. The vinegar purified the spiritual taint. The internal agony receded, replaced by bone-deep exhaustion. I blinked. Focused. Maya. Hands steady, efficient, smeared with salt paste and herbs. Face inches from mine, absolutely focused. I stabilized the wound, she said, voice shaking with adrenaline. You're going to live, you arrogant jerk. You knew, I wheezed, pushing myself against the counter. She sat back on her heels, wiping her hands. Didn't look like a computer engineer anymore. Looked like a battlefield medic. I know the basics. My grandmother, Aurora, you called her Oring, right? She was a Babaylan, a powerful one. She prepared me for this. The name hit me like a fist. Aurora. Memory flooded back. Not this life's memories, but my second life's. 90 years ago, different body, same soul. The sitio was dying. Not from violence, from a curse. A Mangkukulam had hexed the entire village after a land dispute. Crops withered, livestock died, children fell sick with no physical cause. Aurora, oaring to her friends, was already there when I arrived. Mid-40s, strong as iron, with hands that could summon water spirits and a laugh that could shame demons into behaving. About time, Liab, she called, using my name from that life. I've been holding this curse at bay for 3 days. You going to help or just stand there looking mysterious? I was hunting Aswang and Negros. Got here as fast as I could. Well, get faster next time. We've got a sitio to save. We worked together for 2 days straight. Her partnership method, treating spirits as allies rather than tools, combined with my binding techniques. She'd negotiate with the water elementals to purify the wells. I'd bind the curse's anchors and burn them out. You're too aggressive, she'd said, watching me incinerate a cursed talisman. Always binding, always forcing. The spirits would work better if you asked instead of commanded. Your way takes too long. My way builds relationships, your way makes enemies. I've got enough enemies already. She'd laughed at that, warm, genuine. You're a good man, Liab. Underneath all that anger and isolation, someday you'll figure that out. The curse broke on the 3rd day. The Mangkukulam fled. The sitio recovered. Oring invited me to her daughter's baptism a month later. I went, held the infant, tiny thing, with her mother's eyes, and felt something crack in my chest. You should settle down, Oring said. Find someone. Build something besides a body count. Can't. The vow is vengeance, not celibacy. You added the isolation yourself. Same argument Akle made. Same truth I couldn't face. Someday you'll realize loneliness isn't protection. It's just lonely. That was the last time I saw her. I died 3 years later. Heart gave out at 73 before she did. Before I could tell her she was right. I looked at Maya. Her grandmother's eyes. Her grandmother's stubborn jaw. Oring, I murmured. You're her granddaughter. I am. She trained me my whole life, taught me about spirits, about healing, about defense. Maya pointed at my cleaver on the floor. She also made sure Uncle Santos taught me Kali and Arnis. Said if I was going to hang around spiritual mercenaries, I should at least know how to fight. The guilt was overwhelming. Oring's granddaughter, her legacy. And here I was, poisoned and useless. She told me stories about you, Maya continued. Said you were troubled, but good. That you just needed to find your way back. She paused. She also told me about the reincarnations. Made me promise that if I ever met you again, different face, same soul. I'd help you remember that you're more than just vengeance. My throat went tight. She shouldn't have told you that. She was dying. Cancer. She wanted me to know the truth. Maya's voice softened. Her last words were about you. She said, "Tell Elias that partnership isn't weakness. Tell him Aurora forgives him for leaving before saying goodbye. Tell him to stop running." I had to look away. 3 centuries of armor, cracking. Well, this is uncomfortable, Akle muttered, but also necessary. Listen to the child, Pinsan. I'm sorry, I managed. I should have been there. Should have. She didn't blame you. She understood the vow. Maya stood, brushing off her knees. But she also said the vow was killing you, that you'd added rules that weren't there, isolation, celibacy, refusing connection. She said the original vow was just about hunting Aswang. Everything else was fear. She was wrong. Was she? Maya challenged. Because from where I'm standing, you almost died alone in your van from a treatable infection. If I hadn't been waiting here, you'd be dead. That's what isolation gets you. I didn't have an answer for that. Maya's urgency shifted. She pulled out her laptop, opened files. That's actually why I was here. I need your help. Maya, the flood control project. I'm consulting on the engineering side. She showed me surveys, structural reports. During the last storm, I sensed something, a massive elemental spirit, not just rain, active disruption, deliberate sabotage of the water flow. She pulled up more data. I think it's a river god, a powerful one. The Ghost Project corruption violated sacred boundaries encoded in the original city plans. Now the spirit is enraged, escalating the disaster. Her eyes met mine, earnest, pleading. I can communicate with it. I've been trying grandmother's partnership methods, but I can't appease it alone. I need a master of elementals, someone who understands both binding and partnership, someone the spirits respect. She leaned forward. Auring always said you were the only one who truly understood fire and water. If we can negotiate with this spirit, we could save the entire Binondo district from the next storm, thousands of lives. The proposition was sound, pragmatic, good, everything my vow rejected. The familiar armor clicked back into place. I stood slowly, muscles protesting. I can't, Maya. What? Why? Her voice rose. You just risked your life for 2 corpses and some ghouls. This is about thousands of people. My battle is with Aswang. My mission is vengeance, pure and simple. I picked up my cleaver. The weight was comfort. I'm not the man your grandmother hoped I'd be. I'm not a protector. I'm a weapon focused on a single target. I met her eyes, made sure my gaze was cold, empty, final. My path is too dangerous. If you get involved with me, you'll be caught in the crossfire. Call Anya, report the situation, find another Babaylan for your river god. I'm not the right man for this. Maya stared. Her lower lip trembled, but she didn't cry. Just looked defeated, energy draining out. She was wrong about you, she whispered, grabbing her laptop bag. Wrong to think you had any good left. She walked past me, pulled the door open. Bell jingled, gone, leaving only cold echoes of disappointment. Well done, Elias, Akle said, voice dripping disgust. Masterclass in emotional incompetence. The child of your only clean memory needed help and you chose the comfortable lie. I didn't answer, just stood there, gripping the cleaver, feeling like the worst kind of bastard. You're afraid of her, Agos murmured from the fish tank. Afraid of caring. Afraid she'll die like everyone else. She will die like everyone else, I said out loud. Everyone does. Better she hates me from a distance than dies loving me up close. That's not protection, Buhawi whistled from the vent. That's cowardice. Call it what you want. I'm keeping her alive. You're keeping yourself numb, Akle snapped. There's a difference. I ignored them all and went back to prep work. Mechanical, familiar, safe. Mid-morning service was quiet. Just the hum of the refrigerator and smell of coffee. I flipped pancakes, letting the routine calm my mind. Bell jingled. Construction worker. Took his food to go. Moment he was gone, my encrypted phone lit up. Anya. Torres, report on Golden Legacy. The lawyer's threatening to call the NBI. They found decomposing heads in a garbage bag. That was Kalamang. I told them to call police if they wanted human criminals. Contract satisfied. Clients calling back. The spiritual pressure in Binondo didn't drop. It spiked. Anya's voice was clipped. You were right. Kalamang were scavengers. The director admitted their deep sub-level floods regularly. He thinks that's why bodies disappeared. He wants the problem eliminated. Price is astronomical, 10 times initial rate. I flipped a pancake with unnecessary force. 10 times meant serious money. Also serious danger. They bit? They bit. Want the nest cleared completely. Fire-based sterilization, structural sealing. You're the only one who can handle that level of contamination. Interested? I looked at the perfectly flipped pancake, down at the healing bite on my arm. The Kalamang weren't the problem. Whatever organization was feeding them was, and I'd just turned away the only person offering me a clean way out. Send me the location. I'll take it. My voice hardened. Price includes full surveillance protection on Maya Santos. No negotiation, Anya. That's my payment. Done. The nest is in old drainage tunnels leading to a derelict warehouse district. Whispers say it's run by a company called Golden Path Logistics. They deal in more than cargo, Elias. Human trafficking, organ harvesting. She paused. This goes deep. Aswang deep. Good hunting. She hung up. I pulled off my apron. The fire in my chest, Akle's heat, was rising. Back into darkness. But now the path was clear. Hunting the heart of an Aswang operation. And somewhere in the shadows, Isla was watching. You're doing this for Maya, Akle observed, even though you pushed her away. Even though you're pretending not to care. I'm doing this because it's my job. Hunting Aswang, that's the vow. Keep telling yourself that, Agos murmured. Maybe someday you'll believe it, Buhawi added. I grabbed my gear, called in Javi to cover the diner, headed for my van. The warehouse tunnels waited, the nest waited, and somewhere in Binondo, a river god raged while an engineer tried to save thousands alone. But that wasn't my problem. I had Aswang to kill. That was all I had. All I'd ever have. All I'd allow myself to have. Even if it was killing me slower than any Kalamang bite ever could. Yanten Chapter 4. Chapter 5. Black tie and burnt flesh. The black suit was a tactical nightmare, felt like wearing a spiritual straitjacket. I'd spent a century perfecting the art of blending in, not by disguise, but by wearing nothing that drew attention. Now Anya had me looking like an undertaker at a mob funeral. Eat your heart out, James Bond, I thought, slipping the specialized anting ring onto my right index finger. It warmed immediately, concentrating my sidelac like a lens focusing sunlight. The Liga had delivered my equipment to a service entrance earlier. Downstairs in a secure utility closet, Liwanag, my cleaver, copper bullet-loaded pistol, Kevlar vest rolled tight, customized infrared goggles that looked like something from a bad sci-fi movie but actually worked. More importantly, Akle was a contained whisper of heat in my chest. Buhawi, my wind elemental, swirled cool around my wrists. Both ready to channel through the ring, I smoothed the lapels. This was the price of the new Kasugoan. Cleaner clothes for dirtier work. You look ridiculous, Akle observed, like a waiter at a funeral. I am at a funeral. You know what I mean. I did, but complaining wouldn't change anything. I walked back into the main foyer. The service was winding down, air thick with lilies and polite, suffocating grief. I scanned automatically. Exits, choke points, anyone giving off the distinct oily spiritual signature of Aswang. Then I saw her, Isla Estrella, center of a small circle of mourners. Flawless black gown making her look carved from moonlight and shadow. She was perfection. My heart, the stupid human organ I kept forgetting was still attached, did that familiar, agonizing drop. Same feeling from 15 years ago, awe and terror mixed. She turned slightly. Those unnerving gold eyes swept the room. Landed on me for a fraction of a second. Didn't recognize me. Of course not. My civilian face, scrubbed clean, suited up, whirled away from the mud-caked, fire-scarred brute from yesterday. But she felt something, frowned slightly, gaze lingering just a moment too long, like a lawyer spotting a typo in a crucial document. Then she smiled, devastating, cool, and slipped her arm through the arm of a man beside her. Brandon Lopez, hotshot heir to the Lopez fortune. Tall, handsome, radiating wealth and confidence. They looked perfectly matched. I forced myself to look away, the old familiar burn of exclusion raw on my tongue. She moved on, Akle said quietly. You left. She lived. That's what people do. Focus, I muttered. We're working. Mr. Torres, there you are. Mr. Ephraim's sigh glided over, relief plastered on his face now that Kalam Ang heads weren't decorating his desk. He pulled me toward a cluster of men, the real power in the room. Gentlemen, this is Mr. Elias Torres, the security consultant. Mr. Torres, may I introduce Mr. Alfonso, owner of Golden Path Logistics handling Mr. Tan's forwarding arrangements. Congressman Salcedo, and engineering head Mr. Murata from DPWH. I shook hands, neutral expression locked in place. Mr. Alfonso was bland, forgettable, exactly what an Aswang handler would look like. Clammy handshake, calculating eyes. Congressman Salcedo was swagger, charisma, expensive tailoring, powerful patron, and anger, Murata. I suppressed genuine anger, Maya's boss, the man responsible for the flawed flood control project she was trying to fix. He smelled of municipal corruption and cheap cigars. Mr. Torres, I hear you deal with unusual sanitation issues, Salcedo said, smile not reaching his eyes. I deal with problems clients can't solve through normal channels, I corrected. Indeed, Alfonso said too smoothly. We need this problem dealt with tonight, permanently. The integrity of our logistics network is paramount. I nodded, eyes already seeking the discreet elevator to the service corridor. The polite talk was agony. I was standing next to a congressman, an engineer, and an Aswang thrall, all intertwined in corrupt exploitation. This is bigger than you thought, Agos murmured from my water bottle in the jacket pocket. Yeah, I'm noticing. 10 minutes later, the suit was off. Kevlar and utilities on, infrared goggles over my eyes. I looked like a black-clad ghost. About time, Akle hissed. I wasn't doing this in a tux. The drone, DJI Mini, modified with protective silver filigree, word to life piloted by Buhawi, shot ahead through tight crawl spaces. On my goggles, thermal scans overlaid with Akle's magic showed concentrated spiritual corruption in humming red. The tunnels were old, hand-dug smuggler passages, labyrinth built on fear and greed. Kalamang had widened them, leaving slick trails of mucus and bone dust. 15 minutes of navigation. Then the signal spiked. I was under the Golden Path Logistics warehouse. I kicked open the access hatch. The scene was worse than expected, not just a nest, an incubation chamber. The warehouse sublevel, cages of miserable, terrified people. Human cargo, source of organ harvesting and ghoul food supply. 4 massive feral Kalam Ang guarding access points, and at the center, a huge muscled enforcer. Bagat subspecies, shapeshifting, brute force specialists. Human form, counting money, eyes glowing with predatory focus. The handler, I hissed. Take the ghouls, Akle, I'll take the Bagat. I didn't wait, charged using drop momentum. The Bagat shifted instantly. Human glamour tearing away, hideous boar creature, massive snout, tusks, hide covered in needle-like quills. He roared, lifting a metal pipe. Now! Kalam Ang rushed me. I met them with Akle and Liwanag. My cleaver, superheated by channeled fire, was searing blur. I didn't slice. I sterilized. First, ghoul's head separated in smoke and steam. Second, I blocked with my elbow while channeling fire through the ring. Whoosh! Focused fireball hit the ghoul's chest, incinerating its spiritual anchor in sickening flare. Buhawi engaged the Bagat. The boar raised his pipe, but sudden, violent micro-tornado, concentrated wind spiral, slammed into his legs. He stumbled against a wall, roared in frustration, spat poisonous acidic quills. Buhawi met the attack. Fast, dense air shield materialized, absorbing quills with sharp pings. Invisible, but the sheer wind force deflected the poison. I seized the opening. While the Bagat struggled against invisible pressure, I channeled massive Sidlek surge into Liwanag, focusing fire on the blade's edge. leaped, sliced under his guard, aimed for soft underbelly. Akle screamed. The cleaver became white-hot vengeance, cut through thick hide, tearing into the Bagat's core. The boar shrieked, pure unholy agony, and collapsed, grotesque body smoking as Akle's residual heat purified the monstrous form. Kalamang were gone. Incinerated, sliced ash. I collapsed against crates, gasping, shoulder throbbing. The fight had taken 6 minutes. Good work, Aklai panted. For once you committed to the fire. Shut up, we're not done. 2 hours securing the area, burning the nest to ash, using Aklai to superheat walls, consecrated salt and Buhawi's purifying wind to seal and ward the tunnels. The human captives, bewildered, terrified, were secured by Liga teams Anya sent. When I finally emerged cleaning soot from my face, Mr. Alfonso was gone. Instead, Congressman Salcedo waited in the director's office, too comfortable, sipping tea. Mr. Sai arranging flowers, pointedly ignoring fresh scorch marks on the carpet. You are an effective man, Mr. Torres, Salcedo said, setting his cup down. We watched the whole thing. He nodded at a discreet ceiling camera. You eliminated the threat with impressive efficiency. Alpha-level neutralization, I'd call it. He pushed a thick manila envelope across the desk. Bonus from Mr. Alfonso, 100,000 pesos. Your contractor Anya is already settled. I picked up the envelope. Didn't need the money, but it was respect. Or leverage. Your logistics problem is solved, I confirmed. Salcedo smiled. Cold politician smile never reaching his eyes. This problem is solved. But a larger problem has presented itself. The kind requiring true discretion, extreme risk, very high reward. I'll contact your handler, Anya. I have a contract requiring someone who operates outside usual jurisdiction. I nodded, accepting the threat of new massive entanglement, walked toward the exit, mind spinning. Congressman Salcedo. The name clicked with terrible slow certainty. The man behind the DPWH ghost projects, massive multi-billion infrastructure failures, and anger, Murata, Maya's boss, right beside him. My God, I hadn't just secured a contract. I'd embedded myself in the beating, corrupted heart of the city's rot, the nexus where human political power, organized Aswang crime, and the very projects Maya was trying to fix all intersected. This is exactly what you feared, Agos said quietly. Yeah, you're in it now, can't walk away. No, I can't. My vengeance was about to get complicated and deadly. And somewhere in this building, Isla was saying goodbye to mourners with that man's arm through hers, while I stood covered in ash and blood, holding dirty money from dirty people. 3 centuries, same patterns, different faces, but this time, Maya was in the middle of it, whether I wanted her there or not, and that changed everything. End chapter 5. Chapter 6, The Unclean Price. The Kalamang nest died screaming. Well, not screaming exactly, more like this wet, chittering hiss that echoed off the condemned warehouse walls and made my fillings ache. 16 of them, clustered in what used to be a freezer unit, their handler, a low-level Aswang who'd been running them like attack dogs, already cooling on the concrete with my cleaver through his spine. Professional. Clean. Exactly what Alfonso and Salcedo wanted to see. The handler's blood was still warm on my hands when I walked out into the pre-dawn light, 100,000 pesos richer and feeling absolutely nothing about it. That should have been my first warning. You're getting good at this, Akle murmured, his heat a satisfied purr in my chest. Too good. Shut up, I muttered, fishing for my car keys. The service corridor was empty. 3:40 a.m., the city still mostly asleep, just the distant sound of early delivery trucks and the ever-present hum of Manila that never quite stops. I'd stashed my gear bag behind a dumpster, tactical vest, the cleaver wrapped in oilcloth, a change of clothes because Aswang blood doesn't come out easy. I was pulling on a clean shirt, my suit jacket draped over one shoulder when she materialized. No footsteps, no warning, just suddenly there 10 feet away like she'd been standing in that exact spot for hours. Isla Estrella. My brain did 3 things simultaneously. Cataloged the blue evening gown, the golden hair pulled back so tight it had to hurt, the way she held herself like a blade at rest, remembered the feeling of her skin under my fingers lives ago. reminded myself that I'd walked away twice and I'd do it again to keep her breathing. The fourth thing my brain did was absolutely betray me. Still beautiful, still angry, still alive, thank every god that ever was. Hello, Torre. Her voice could have cut glass. Rough night? I kept my face blank, friendly, the expression I used for customers who complained about their eggs. Isla, didn't know you were in the area. Obviously. She took 3 steps closer. Her heels clicked on concrete. Expensive shoes, the kind that cost more than my rent. You're wearing Aswang blood under your fingernails. You missed a spot. I looked down. She was right. Damn it. Working late, I said. Working. She laughed, and it sounded like breaking crystal. Is that what we're calling it? Don't engage, don't give her ammunition, don't. You still slouch, she said. After everything, after 3 lifetimes, Elias, you still stand like you're apologizing for taking up space. The words hit different than I expected, not angry, disappointed. I straightened without thinking about it and hated myself for it. Look, I started. No, you look. She closed the distance between us, and I could smell her perfume, something floral and expensive and completely out of place in a service corridor that smelled like garbage and old blood. I spent 6 months thinking you were dead. Again. 6 months, Elias. Do you know what that's like? Watching the news, checking hospital records, wondering if this time you'd actually gotten yourself killed for real. I was keeping you safe. By lying to me, her voice cracked, just slightly, just enough to make my chest hurt. By vanishing, by deciding, completely on your own, what I needed protecting from? The Aswang are still here, they're still hunting, and you know what the hilarious part is? She was shouting now, her spiritual signature flaring gold and furious around her shoulders. You being gone didn't make me safer. It just made me lonely. I had nothing. No defense, no clever response, just the weight of her words and the gear bag in my hand and the knowledge that she was right. She knew it too. You walk away from people, Elias. That's your real talent. Not the magic, not the cooking, not the... She gestured at me, at the blood still under my nails, at whatever I'd become. This. You walk away. You decide you're too dangerous, too cursed, too whatever, and you just leave, like you're the only one who gets a vote. I loved you, past tense. The words landed like a punch. Twice, 2 lifetimes, and I loved you twice, and both times you ran. You know what the worst part is? I didn't answer. You're going to do it again. She stepped back. You're going to stand there with your sad eyes and your stupid slouch and your martyr complex, and you're going to tell yourself it's for my own good, that you're protecting me by pushing me away. I am protecting you. From what? From caring? From having someone give a damn if you live or die? She shook her head. That's not protection, Elias. That's cowardice. A car pulled up, sleek, expensive, completely wrong for this neighborhood. Brandon Lopez behind the wheel, perfectly styled even at 4 a.m, looking at me like I was something stuck to his shoe. Of course! Isla gave me one last look, not angry anymore, just tired. Goodbye, Torre. Try not to die doing whatever stupid thing you're planning next. She got in the car. Lopez said something I couldn't hear. The engine purred, and they were gone. I stood there for maybe 5 minutes, gear bag getting heavy in my hand, listening to Aklai seethe and Buhawi whip anxious circles around my ankles. Shut up, I told them both. Just shut up. The grill, at 6 a.m., was my church. Familiar, simple. The hiss of the grill warming up, the coffee maker gurgling through its cycle, the morning prep work that required exactly 0 decisions beyond whether to slice the tomatoes thick or thin. I chose thin. Felt appropriate. Javi showed up at 8 with the produce delivery, took one look at my face, and didn't ask questions. That's why I kept him around. Well, that and he could work a sauté pan like he was born holding one. Boss? He set down a crate of mangoes. You look like hell. Rough night? The paying kind or the other kind? The paying kind that became the other kind. He nodded like that made perfect sense. We got that bonus you mentioned? I pulled an envelope from my jacket. 10,000 pesos, more than I should have spent, but Javi had a kid in college and medical bills from his mother's surgery. Take the afternoon, get that new equipment for the cold station. And maybe take your wife somewhere nice. He didn't count it, just pocketed the envelope and gave me a look that said he knew exactly what kind of night I'd had. You need anything, boss, you call, yeah? Yeah. He left around noon. I stayed prepping for dinner service that wouldn't start for hours, losing myself in the mechanical rhythm of chopping vegetables, onions, carrots, celery, the holy trinity. Simple, clean, nothing that required killing anything that could talk back. My phone buzzed. Anya. Just an address and a time. 2 p.m. Government building, 3rd floor. I looked at the briefcase I'd left by the office door, the 100,000 from last night's job. Blood money. Literally. Then I looked at my cleaver, hanging on its magnetic strip above the prep station. Then I washed my hands, locked up, and went to find out what fresh hell I'd been hired for next. The conference room smelled like government contracts and bad coffee. Anya was there, looking professional in a blazer that probably cost more than my car. Next to her sat Engir, Murata, Maya's boss, the one who'd hired her for the flood control project. And scattered around the table were 4 other people who had that unmistakable ex-military vibe, straight backs, expensive watches, eyes that cataloged exits, money, serious money. Mr. Torre? Murata stood, offered his hand. His grip was firm, dry, exactly what you'd expect from someone who built bridges for a living. Thank you for coming. Your assistant made it sound important. It is. He gestured to a chair. Please, sit. I sat. Anya poured me coffee from a carafe that probably cost more than my monthly rent. I didn't drink it. Murata spread a map across the table. The Pasig River, with red marks indicating the new flood control infrastructure. Dikes, retaining walls, pump stations. Millions of pesos in emergency construction, all rushed through in anticipation of the monsoon season. We have a problem, Murata said. The river. I waited. Water levels are erratic, spiking, dropping, no pattern. We're seeing whirlpools forming in sections that should be completely stable. 2 weeks ago, a section of reinforced concrete just crumbled, no structural defect, no explanation. He tapped one of the red marks. It's destroying our work. Rivers do that, I said. Not like this. He pulled out another document. Engineering surveys, stress tests, all stamped and official. Mr. Torre, I'm an engineer. I build things that last. I account for variables, storm surges, tidal effects, seasonal flooding. This isn't any of those things. Anya leaned forward. The cause is spiritual. There it was. Dagatnon, she continued, the river god, guardian of the Pasig. It's been dormant for decades, but the pollution, the construction, the general disrespect, it's woken up angry. I thought about the Kasugoan. The spiritual pact I'd made with Dagatnon just weeks ago, protection for the city in exchange for leaving the river alone, for acknowledging its authority. And you want me to what? Negotiate? No. Murata's voice went flat. We want you to kill it. The room got very quiet. 15 million pesos, one of the ex-military types said. His nameplate read Alfonso. Different from the Alfonso I dealt with last night, but the similarity made my teeth itch. 1 million advance, the rest on completion. He slid a briefcase across the table. I didn't touch it. You want me to kill a river god? We want you to eliminate a threat to critical infrastructure, Murata corrected. Infrastructure that protects millions of people. Schools, hospitals, homes. Homes built on the river's floodplain, I said. Infrastructure that required dumping thousands of tons of concrete into the water that people treated like a sewer for 50 years. We're not here to debate environmental policy, Mr. Torre. Alfonso's voice had an edge. We're here to solve a problem. Are you interested or not? I looked at Anya. She gave me nothing. Professional, neutral, just the contractor connecting client and service provider. I thought about Isla's words. You walk away from people. I thought about the Kasugoan, the promise I'd made. I thought about Maya, working for Murata, trying to build something that would actually help people, completely unaware that her boss was paying someone to murder a god. I'll think about it, I said. We need an answer by, I'll think about it. I stood. You have my number. I left the briefcase, walked out into the hallway, down 3 flights of stairs, out into the afternoon heat that hit like a wall. My phone buzzed. Weather alert, typhoon rooming, Upgraded to Signal 3, expected landfall by evening. Perfect. The rain started at 4, not gradually, not a gentle buildup, just suddenly the sky opened up and the city drowned. I was halfway to the flood control site when traffic stopped completely. Water rising, cars stalling, people abandoning vehicles and running for higher ground. The kind of flood that happens too fast, too violent, completely wrong for a storm that wasn't supposed to hit for hours. I parked on an overpass and walked the last kilometer, my tactical vest under a rain jacket, the cleaver in its sheath against my spine. The flood control wall was chaos. Police everywhere, rescue boats, medical teams, and bodies. Lots of bodies laid out in neat rows on the elevated section of roadway covered with plastic tarps. Drowning victims, a cop told me when I flashed my consultant badge, a fake ID Anya had provided. 15 so far, pulled them out of the low sections. I knelt next to one of the bodies, pulled back the tarp. Perfect. Too perfect. No water bloat, no signs of panic or struggle. Eyes closed peacefully, skin with that waxy, unreal quality that I'd seen before. Tigbalolo, body duplicates. The Aswang weren't just feeding during the flood, they were using it, creating chaos, providing cover, leaving their copies behind while they melted back into the population. Sir, you can't. The cop reached for me. I stood up, let him see my face, let just enough Sidlak leak through that his hand stopped mid-reach. How many more? What? How many more bodies total? 30, maybe more, like the water's still rising, we can't get to the lower sections. Thunder, except not thunder. Too focused, too angry. The kind of sound that hits your chest instead of your ears. The river was manifesting. I pushed past the cop, past the rescue teams, past the sandbag walls, and the desperate attempts to hold back water that had no interest in being held. The rain hit harder. Horizontal now, driven by wind that had no natural source coming from all directions at once. I could see it now, Dagatnon, manifesting in the heart of the flood waters. Not fully physical, not yet, but close enough. A towering spiral of water and wind and pure rage centered on the newest section of the flood wall. And standing directly in front of it, shouting into the storm, was Maya Santos. Not asking you to stop. Her voice barely carried over the wind. Just redirect. We can work together. The people here, they need... The god roared. Actual words, but in a language that predated Tagalog, predated Spanish, predated anything human. I caught fragments, poisoned, desecrated, forgotten, before the meaning dissolved into pure fury. Please, Maya was crying now, tears mixing with rain. I know we hurt you. I know we took too much, but killing people won't. The water surged. 10 feet high, 20, a wall of floodwater compressed into a battering ram aimed straight at the section of wall where Maya stood. She saw it coming. Too late. Started to run, slipped on the wet concrete. The water hit. Maya vanished. I didn't think, didn't calculate, didn't weigh costs or benefits or curse the goddamn martyr complex that Isla had correctly identified. I dropped my rain jacket, channeled Sidlak straight into my core. Felt Akle flare hot and eager, felt Buhawi respond with a shriek of wind that scattered rain in a perfect circle around me. Agos! The water spirit materialized, sluggish but willing, drawn by the massive spiritual presence of Dagatnon. Shield, now! Buhawi, propulsion, straight line, don't! The wind caught me, launched me forward like I'd been fired from a cannon, a compressed bubble of air punching through the rain and the flood waters. Agos wrapped around the outside of the windshield, using the river's own fury to create a protective envelope. I hit the floodwaters at maybe 40 miles an hour. The impact should have killed me. Would have, without the elementals. Instead, I punched through the surface and kept going, straight down, following the spiritual signature of Maya's terror through the churning darkness. Found her maybe 15 feet down, eyes closed, not struggling anymore. The water had its teeth in her, pulling her deeper, pulling her towards the riverbed where Dagatnon could consume her completely. No. I grabbed her jacket, felt Agos protest. This water is too strong, too angry. We can't do it anyway. We erupted from the water like a surfacing submarine. Buhawi caught us on the way up, turned a drowning into a controlled arc that ended with both of us slamming onto the elevated roadway. Maya coughed, vomited river water, gasped, coughed again. Alive. The briefcase was still there somehow. sitting on the concrete where I'd dropped it. 1 million pesos in advance payment for killing the god that was currently manifesting fully, preparing to smash every flood wall from here to Manila Bay. I looked at Maya, at the rescue workers, at the bodies under tarps that weren't really bodies at all, at the choice that wasn't really a choice. God damn it, I said. Akle laughed, low and hot and entirely too satisfied. Yeah, I muttered. I know. I picked up the briefcase and threw it into the river. Chapter Chapter 7. The Reluctant Mentor. Maya wasn't breathing right. I mean, she was breathing. Chest rising and falling, air moving in and out, but it was all wrong. Too shallow, too fast, and her lips had that blue tinge that meant oxygen wasn't getting where it needed to go. The back of the League transport van smelled like diesel and old blood. I'd commandeered it from one of the rescue teams, flashed my consultant badge, and nobody asked questions when I loaded an unconscious woman into the back, probably thought she was another drowning victim. They weren't wrong. Javi. I had the phone wedged between my ear and shoulder, both hands on Maya's wrist, counting her pulse. Yeah, I know it's late. Listen, we have company. The night job followed me home. Boss, back room, clean sheets, and get the kettle going, the big one. How bad? I looked at Maya. Her skin was cold, clammy, her aura, barely visible even to my trained sight, flickered like a candle in a hurricane. Bad enough, 20 minutes. I hung up. The spiritual drowning was the problem, not the physical kind, though she'd swallowed enough river water that I'd had to turn her on her side twice during the drive to let her cough it up. No, this was the other kind. The kind that happens when a mortal witnesses a prime diva manifesting at full power, when they lock eyes with something so fundamentally other that their spirit just gives up, starts sinking. Dagatnon hadn't even been trying to kill her specifically. She'd just been in the way. Collateral damage to a god's tantrum. Stupid, I muttered, checking her pupils. Dilated, not good. Trying to negotiate with a river god. What were you thinking, Santos? She didn't answer. Obviously. Akle stirred in my chest, radiating concern heat. She reminds you of Aurora. Shut up. You're going to help her anyway. I said shut up. I pulled into the alley behind the grill, doing maybe 40, slammed the brakes hard enough to make the van rock. Javi was already there. Back door propped open, looking like he'd thrown on clothes in about 15 seconds. Christ, boss. He saw Maya. She's breathing, barely. Help me get her inside. We half carried, half dragged her through the kitchen. Javi had cleared off the prep table in the back room, the one I usually used for breaking down wholesale meat orders. He'd covered it with clean tablecloths, put the industrial kettle on full boil, even lit some of the candles I kept for exactly this kind of situation. What happened? Javi was already checking her pulse, his fingers gentle on her throat. River god. The Pasig one? The one Maya was trying to... Yeah. He looked at me, then at her, then back at me. You were supposed to kill it. Change of plans. Boss, they offered you 15 million I know what they offered me. I was already pulling supplies from the cabinet. Salt, specific herbs, a knife that hadn't been used for cooking in maybe 50 years. I need you to keep that water boiling, and if anyone comes through that front door in the next hour, I don't care who they are, they can wait. Copy that. He didn't ask more questions. That's why I kept him around. I arranged Maya on her back, positioned her head toward the east, traditional, but it mattered for this kind of work. Sprinkled salt in a circle around the table, lit the herbs in an abalone shell, letting the smoke fill the room with that sharp, clean scent that made my sinuses burn. Then I placed my hands on her sternum and started the chant, Lubayi ang ini nga lawas, guwasa ini nga kalag. The words felt rusty. How long since I'd done healing work, real healing work, not just the emergency battlefield stabilization I'd gotten used to. Years, probably. Maybe a decade. The Babaylan traditions. The real ones. Not the watered-down Liga version. Those required connection. Compassion. Things I'd been actively avoiding. Leave this body. Leave her soul. Akle responded first, flooding my hands with heat. Not burning hot, healing hot. The kind that seeps into cold muscle and frozen tissue and reminds them how to live. Maya's skin went from ice pale to merely pale progress. Alone, I called the water spirit, the temperamental bastard who'd been sulking since the confrontation with Dagatnon. I need you, now! He materialized reluctantly, a shimmer of blue-green energy hovering over Maya's chest. Water spirits don't like healing work. Too much effort, too much care, not enough chaos. But Alon owed me, and he knew it. She's got the river in her, I explained, keeping my voice low and firm. Dagatnon's fury, you need to pull it out. Alon shuddered, the spiritual equivalent of a dramatic sigh, then dove into Maya's chest. Her back arched, her mouth opened, and she vomited river water. Except it wasn't really river water, not physically. Spiritually, though, pure brackish darkness thick with rage and ancient resentment and the accumulated poison of 50 years of industrial runoff. It poured from her mouth and nose, pooling on the tablecloth, steaming despite never having been hot. Javi made a strangled sound behind me. Don't touch it, I warned. It's not real. I mean, it is, but just don't touch it. Alon emerged, looking smug and exhausted, and immediately retreated to the pipes under the sink. The spiritual water evaporated, leaving nothing but a faint stain that would probably never come out. Maya's breathing steadied, deepened. The blue tinge left her lips. I sagged against the wall, suddenly aware that I was drenched in sweat. Buhawi had been standing guard the whole time. I hadn't even asked him to. He'd just done it. And now he wound around my legs in that way that was either affection or just checking to make sure I was still alive. Is she going to be okay? Javi's voice was quiet. Yeah, probably. I don't know. I wiped my face with my sleeve. Make that tonic, the ginger one. Heavy on the ginger, light on everything that doesn't taste like ass. Boss, that recipe. I know it tastes like ass, that's the point. She needs something strong enough to anchor her back in her body. He went to work. I stayed slumped against the wall, watching Maya breathe, trying to remember if Aurora had ever looked that vulnerable when she was sleeping. She hadn't. Aurora had been strong right up until the end. Natural causes, surrounded by family. The only person I'd ever cared about who'd actually gotten a good death. And now I was responsible for keeping her granddaughter alive. God damn it, I muttered. Aklai didn't say anything. He didn't have to. Maya slept for 18 hours. I know because I checked on her every 30 minutes, between customers, between orders, between the lunch rush and dinner prep. Javi caught me doing it around hour 6 and just raised an eyebrow but didn't comment. Smart man. At hour 12, her uncle called. Diego Santos, Maya's maternal uncle, league member, currently up to his neck in flood rescue operations. His voice on the phone was exhausted. Maya didn't check in, he said without preamble. She was at the flood wall. You were at the flood wall. Is she alive? Yeah. With you? Yeah. A pause. What happened? She tried to negotiate with Dagatnon. Almost worked. Then the river tried to drown her. I pulled her out. She's recovering. Spiritual or physical? Both. Another pause, longer this time. You saved her. Don't make it weird. Elias, she's fine. She's sleeping. Keep doing whatever you're doing out there. I'll keep her safe until you can pick her up. Actually? He sounded uncomfortable. Can she stay with you? Another day, maybe 2? The flooding's worse than we thought. We're pulling Siokoi out of the storm drains, and there's at least 15 Tigbalolo that got mixed in with the real victims. I can't leave the operation and I can't watch her properly. I looked at the closed door to the back room. Thought about the debt I owed Aurora, about the fact that I'd already broken my own rules by bringing Maya here in the first place. Fine, 2 days. I owe you. You don't owe me anything. Just handle the flood. I'll handle this. I hung up before he could get sentimental about it. Javi appeared at my elbow holding a fresh pot of coffee. She staying? Apparently. You going to tell her about the contract? I didn't answer. Just took the coffee and went back to prepping vegetables like my life depended on getting the carrots exactly the right size. Maya woke up at hour 18, right in the middle of the dinner rush. I was at the grill, 3 orders up, Javi working the fryer, when I felt the shift in the air. That particular pressure that meant someone had just woken up from spiritual trauma and was about to have questions. Javi, take over. Boss, we've got take over. I wiped my hands, left him cursing at the grill, and pushed through to the back room. Maya was sitting up, sort of. More like propped up on her elbows, staring at the ceiling with that particular expression people get when they're trying to remember how they got somewhere. Don't move too fast, I said from the doorway. You're going to be dizzy. She turned her head, slowly, looked at me. Her expression went through about 5 emotions in 2 seconds: confusion, recognition, relief, then something harder, colder. You... Her voice was rough, scratchy from all the vomiting. You saved me. Yeah. Why? The question hit wrong, like she already knew the answer and didn't like it. Because you were drowning. You had the briefcase. She sat up fully now, ignoring my advice, wincing through the dizziness. The advance payment, 1 million pesos. You were at the flood wall to kill Dagatnon, then you saved me instead. Yeah. So what? She was getting angry now, color returning to her face in blotchy red patches. This is guilt? Professional courtesy? You save me because it looks bad if the consultant lets someone die? Maya, did they hire you to protect me too? Is this a package deal? Kill the god, save the girl, collect your fee? No. Then why? She was on her feet now, swaying but upright. You made it very clear you don't do partnerships, you don't do attachments, you're the lone wolf, the professional, the guy who shows up, does the job, collects his money, and leaves. So, what the hell am I doing in your restaurant? I didn't have a good answer. Didn't have any answer that wouldn't sound like exactly what she was accusing me of. Guilt, obligation, some transactional bullshit. So, I told her the truth. Your grandmother saved my life. Twice. Different faces, different names, but same soul. I owed Aurora. Now I owe you. That's it. She stared at me. That's it. That's it. So this is debt? Spiritual debt? You're just balancing the books. If you want to put it that way, yeah. Something in her expression cracked. Not quite broke, but cracked. Get out. You should drink. Get out. I left, closed the door, stood in the hallway for maybe 30 seconds listening to her not crying on the other side of the wall. Javi gave me a look when I came back to the kitchen. I ignored it and burned 3 orders in a row, trying to get my head back in the game. Maya left the next morning while I was out getting supplies. I came back to find the bed made military tight, the borrowed clothes folded on the chair, and a note in engineer-precise handwriting that just said, "Thank you," with no signature. She seemed pretty determined, Javi offered. He was prepping the lunch station, carefully not making eye contact. Said she had things to take care of. Did she say where? Nope. I crumpled the note, threw it away, told myself I was relieved. One less complication, one less attachment. Back to the simple life of cooking food and occasionally killing things that needed killing. Worked for about 6 hours. Then Maya walked back through the front door. It was 2 in the afternoon, the dead zone between lunch and dinner when the only customers were the regulars who came for coffee and gossip. She walked past them without looking, went straight to the counter where I was prepping vegetables, and slapped both palms down on the stainless steel. I need you to train me. I kept chopping. Carrots this time. Needed them julienned for the evening special. No. My grandmother told me about you. Different name, different face, but I heard the speech already. Answer's still no. The Liga teaches binding, she continued like I hadn't spoken. Domination, control, turn the spirits into weapons and point them at your enemies. That's their whole philosophy. Works pretty well. It's why Dagatnon is pissed off. It's why half the spirits in the city are either corrupted or enraged or hiding, because people like the Liga treat them like tools instead of... She stopped, took a breath, started again. Lola Aurora taught partnership, cooperation, geometry of power instead of hierarchy. You knew her methods. You're the only one who can teach me both. Find someone else. There is no one else. Every other Babaylan is either Liga or dead or doesn't remember the old ways. You're it. You're the last one who actually talked to spirits instead of just commanding them. The carrot snapped under my knife. I'd pressed too hard. I don't take apprentices. So, I'll be the first. No. Why not? I put the knife down. Looked at her properly for the first time since she'd walked in. She looked terrible. Dark circles under her eyes, skin still pale, wearing the same clothes from yesterday that someone had obviously washed for her but still looked wrong. But her jaw was set. Her eyes were hard, and she had that Aurora stubborn expression that meant she wasn't going to leave until she got what she wanted. You know what happened yesterday? I kept my voice low. You almost died, not heroically, not usefully. You almost died because you thought you could talk sense into a god who'd been tortured for 50 years by human corruption. You thought engineering principles and good intentions would somehow bridge the gap between mortal and divine, and it didn't work. It was never going to work. All you did was almost get yourself killed. So teach me how to do it better. There is no better. That's what I'm trying to... I stopped, breathed, started again. Everyone I train dies. Everyone I get close to dies. That's not melodrama. That's pattern recognition. The curse follows me, and it takes everyone in the blast radius. Your grandmother was smart enough to keep her distance. You should be too. My grandmother died of old age. She was the exception. Or maybe she was the rule and you just got unlucky. Maya leaned forward. Train me. 3 months. Basic combat, basic binding, basic partnership protocols. Then I'm out of your hair. You never have to see me again. You can't afford me. I'll do the engineering work on this place. That sink in the bathroom, it's one bad pipe away from flooding your whole kitchen. The roof? I can see 3 different water stains from here. Your electrical is probably grandfathered in under codes that haven't existed since the 80s. I'll fix all of it. That's my payment. No. She straightened up, pulled something from her pocket, and dropped it on the counter between us. A check, made out to me, 1 million pesos. That's your advance, she said, from the Dagatnon contract. They already paid you. The money's in your account. I called Engar. Murata this morning, told him you completed the job, that Dagatnon was dealt with. I stared at the check. I didn't kill it. No. You saved me instead, which distracted it long enough for the flood to recede naturally. The walls held. No catastrophic damage. Murata's happy, his investors are happy, and they don't care about the details. She pushed the check toward me. So take it. Take all of it. Leave the city, leave the country, go somewhere safe, start over, stop fighting a war you think you've already lost. Maya, I'm not Aurora. Her voice cracked, just slightly. I know you think I am, or that I remind you of her, or whatever story you're telling yourself to justify why you gave a damn yesterday. But I'm not her. I'm just me. I'm an engineer who can see spirits and wants to learn how to help them instead of exploiting them. And if you won't teach me, then fine, I'll figure it out myself. But at least let me pay off the debt you think you owe before you run away again. The silence stretched. One of the regulars coughed awkwardly. Javi had stopped even pretending to work and was just watching us, like this was the best telenovela he'd seen in years. I picked up the check, looked at it. All those zeros. Enough money to disappear for real this time. New city, new name, new life. No attachments, no complications, no curses. I tore it in half, then in half again, then I threw the pieces in the trash. 3 months, I said. My voice sounded like I'd been chewing gravel. 3 months only, basic combat, basic binding, basic partnership. You follow my instructions exactly. No improvisation, no heroics, no thinking you can engineering brain your way through spiritual physics. First sign you're not cut out for this. We're done. Understood? Maya's expression didn't change, but something in her eyes shifted. Went from hard to just tired, relieved. Understood. Training starts after closing. You show up on time, you wear clothes you don't mind destroying, and you bring your own coffee because I'm not running a daycare. Yes, Sensei. Don't call me that. Too late, already did. The ghost of a smile crossed her face. See you at 9. She left. The bell over the door chimed. The regulars went back to their coffee and gossip. Javi started humming something that sounded suspiciously like a wedding march. I went back to chopping vegetables. Akle was practically vibrating with smug satisfaction in my chest. You're getting soft in your old age. Shut up. 3 months. Then she'll leave. That's what you think will happen. That's what will happen. If you say so. I chopped harder. The carrots were supposed to be julienne, but they were coming out more like brutal chunks. Whatever. They'd cook the same. Pattern recognition, that was the problem. Everyone I trained died. Everyone I got close to died. That was the rule, the curse, the price. But Maya wasn't everyone. She was Aurora's granddaughter. She had that same stubborn streak, that same refusal to accept that this is how it's always been done was a good enough answer. She brought a tape measure to spiritual negotiations and somehow made it work. Maybe she'd be different. Maybe she'd survive. Or maybe I was just making the same mistake I'd made 100 times before, convincing myself that this time would be different, that this time the curse would somehow miss. Either way, I had 3 months to find out. I looked at the trash can where the torn check was sitting. 1,000,000 pesos. Enough to run, enough to hide. Instead, I was going to spend it on teaching an idealistic engineer how to not get herself killed talking to angry gods. I'm an idiot, I muttered. Akle didn't disagree. Maya showed up at 9:15. You're late, I said without looking up from where I was mopping the floor. Traffic, sorry, won't happen again. It better not. I finished the mopping, dumped the bucket, and turned to actually look at her. She'd changed, not just clothes, though she was wearing workout gear now, practical stuff that looked like it had seen actual use. But her posture was different, defensive, ready, good. First lesson, I said, walking past her to lock the front door and flip the sign to closed. You don't know anything. I know some. You don't know anything, I repeated. Everything you think you know about spirits, about binding, about partnership, that's all theory. Book learning, academic bullshit. It's useful, don't get me wrong, but it's not the same as doing it. So for the next 3 months, you're a blank slate, got it? She bristled, started to argue, then stopped, nodded. Got it. Second lesson, Seedlac isn't about force. It's not about willpower or determination or how much you want something. It's about connection. You have to feel the flow of Lamian, the good energy, the balanced energy, and work with it instead of against it. I understand the concept. Understanding isn't the same as doing. Show me. Show you what? Basic barrier, air element. You managed one yesterday before Dagatnon tried to kill you. Do it again. She squared her shoulders, closed her eyes. I could see her concentration, the way her whole body tensed with effort. The air around her started to move. Sluggish, reluctant, but moving. Then it stopped. She opened her eyes, frustrated. It's not. It feels wrong. Like static, like it's resisting. Because you're trying to dominate it. I pulled up a stool, sat down. This was going to take a while. You're treating Lamian like a stubborn equation, like if you just push hard enough, calculate precisely enough, it'll give you the answer you want. But it's not math, Santos. It's relationship. Relationship. Yeah, you have to ask. You have to listen. You have to. I gestured vaguely at the air. Partner with it? Like dancing? You lead, but you also follow. You propose, but you also accept. It's give and take. She frowned. That's not how the Liga teaches it. I know. The Liga teaches binding, control. I am the master, you are the tool. It works. It's efficient. But it's also why spirits like Dagatnon eventually snap and try to kill everyone. You can only push something so far before it pushes back. She was quiet for a moment, processing. Then, so, how do I ask? That's what we're going to spend the next 3 months figuring out. I stood up, grabbed a broom from the corner, tossed it to her. She caught it awkwardly. But first, you're going to sweep this floor while I watch. And you're going to do it mindfully. Feel the air moving around the bristles. Feel the dust responding. Feel the rhythm of the movement. Get comfortable with the element before you try to use it. You want me to sweep as training. I want you to learn partnership. Sweeping's as good a place as any to start. She looked at the broom, at me, at the broom again. Then she started sweeping. Akle perched near the coffee machine, a small orb of warm light, watching the whole thing with what I could only describe as amusement. Buhawi was already circling Maya's legs, playfully pushing at her ankles, making her stumble every third stroke. Stop that, I told him. He ignored me. Of course. How long do I have to do this? Maya asked after about 5 minutes. Until you stop fighting it. Fighting the sweeping. Fighting the air. She swept for another hour. I watched, occasionally correcting her stance, her grip, the way she was holding tension in her shoulders. Slowly, so slowly, I'm not sure she noticed, the air started cooperating. The dust moved more cleanly, the bristles flowed instead of stuttered. Buhawi stopped tripping her and started actually helping, creating tiny currents that guided the dirt into neat piles. There, I said finally. That's partnership. Maya looked at the clean floor, at the neat piles of dust, at Buhawi now doing lazy circles around the overhead fan. I swept your floor, she said. You partnered with wind while sweeping my floor, I corrected. Different thing. This is going to be a long 3 months. Yeah, probably. She put the broom away, stretched, winced, still sore from yesterday. Same time tomorrow? Same time tomorrow. She left. I locked the door behind her, stood in the middle of my clean restaurant listening to Akle laugh and Buhawi whisper conspiracy theories to the ceiling fan. 3 months. That's what I'd promised. 3 months of training, then she'd leave and I'd go back to my simple, solitary, curse-free life. I almost believed it. God damn it, I muttered for the second time that day. Akle didn't even bother responding. He just pulsed with that smug, knowing warmth that meant he'd already figured out how this story ended. I hadn't. Not yet. But I had a pretty good guess. And it wasn't going to be simple. Chapter 8. The Ascent of Lika. The warehouse near the port smelled like rust and old fish. Perfect. I'd found it 3 days into Maya's training, after realizing that teaching her in the grill's dining room was a liability. Too many questions from customers, too many interruptions, too much chance of someone walking in while we were doing things that would have looked really weird without context. This is disgusting, Maya said, stepping over a puddle of something I didn't want to identify. There's probably rats. Probably? I dropped my gear bag near what used to be a loading dock. The sound echoed through the empty space, maybe 5,000 square feet of concrete floor and rusted I-beams. But it's got good bones, high ceiling, no neighbors, and the Lika flows clean here. The what? Lika, the stream, the ambient energy. I gestured vaguely at the air. Think of it like spiritual electricity. It's everywhere, flowing through the city, but some places it pools, some places it runs fast, some places it gets polluted by all the human misery and corruption. Here, it's clean, fast, good for training. She pulled out a notebook, started writing, because of course she did. You don't need to take notes, Santos. I'm an engineer. I take notes. This isn't engineering. Everything is engineering if you think about it right. She looked up, pen poised. Solika, that's the fuel source? For the magic? For Babaylan magic, yeah. Most traditions have something similar. The Chinese call it qi, Japanese call it ki, some Western systems call it mana or whatever. It's all the same thing. The energy that flows through everything living and some things that aren't. And we tap into it. If you know how, most people can't. They're blind to it, deaf to it, completely unaware it exists. But people like us, people with Sidlak, we can see it, feel it, channel it. I started unpacking the training gear. Rattan sticks for Kali drills, salt for marking circles, a few artifacts I'd borrowed from my personal collection. Your Sidlak is your divine spark, your connection point. It's what lets you interface with the Lika stream. So my Sidlak is like a spiritual Wi-Fi adapter? I stopped, looked at her. Did you just compare ancient mystical traditions to internet connectivity? I mean, it works as a metaphor. You're going to give me an aneurysm. You're going to appreciate my systematic approach eventually. She was smirking now. So, if Sidlak is the adapter, what's the router? There is no... You know what? Fine. The router is the universe. Happy? Very. Continue. I rubbed my face. This was going to be a long month. The point is, if you rely purely on your own Sidlak, your internal power, you'll burn out fast. Every Babaylan who tried to power everything from their own reserves ended up a smoking ruin. Your energy is finite. The Lika stream is unlimited. So, we're not generating power, we're channeling it. Exactly. Now stop taking notes and pick up a stick. The Kali drills were supposed to be about focus, muscle memory, getting her body to move without thinking so her mind could concentrate on the spiritual work. That was the theory. The reality was that watching Maya move through the forms was becoming a problem. She'd shown up in athletic gear, practical, appropriate for training, shorts that ended mid-thigh, tank top that showed her shoulders and the curve of her collarbone, hair pulled back in a ponytail that swung when she turned her head. Completely reasonable outfit for physical training, also completely distracting. Focus, Elias. She's your student. You made a vow, multiple vows. Keep your eyes on her footwork, not her. Am I doing this right? Maya blocked my strike, her form clean but still too stiff. It feels awkward. You're tensing your shoulders. Relax. Flow. I am relaxed. You're not. Here. I moved behind her, adjusted her stance, one hand on her shoulder blade, the other on her hip to shift her weight forward. Her skin was warm through the thin fabric. Feel that? The power comes from your core, not your arms. Rotation, not force. She tried the movement again. Better, still not quite right. Aklai stirred in my chest, radiating heat that had nothing to do with combat readiness. Dios mío, Elias. That outfit is a spiritual crime against your chastity. Shut up. Look at the architecture, the engineering. She's going to crack your vow like a piñata at a children's party. I said shut up. Maya turned, caught my expression. What? Nothing. Again. Faster this time. We ran through the drill 20 more times. My concentration was shot. Her form improved despite my distraction, which was either a testament to her natural ability or proof that I was a terrible teacher who needed to get his head out of his break, I announced. 15 minutes, hydrate. She grabbed her water bottle, chugged half of it, then sat down cross-legged on the concrete. I stayed standing, maintaining distance, trying to remember why I'd thought training her was a good idea. Agos materialized near a leaking pipe in the corner, a shimmer of blue-green energy that resolved into her preferred form, vaguely feminine, made of water, currently looking at me with what I could only describe as maternal disapproval. Stay true to the peace of your solitude, Elias. Her voice was cool, crystalline. Desire brings the wolf to the door. She's a student. You keep telling yourself that. Are your elementals arguing? Maya was watching the corner where Agos had manifested. I can't hear them clearly yet, but I can feel tension. They're fine, just discussing strategy. They're arguing about me, aren't they? I didn't answer. She grinned. What are they saying? Nothing important. Elias, Akle thinks you're distracting. Agos thinks I should maintain professional boundaries. Buhawi thinks the whole thing is hilarious and won't shut up about it. And what do you think? Dangerous question. I think we should get back to work. That's not an answer. It's the only answer you're getting. I grabbed the brass ring I'd brought, a simple training artifact, nothing fancy. Next lesson, harnessing the Lika stream. You can't do advanced work until you learn to pull power from outside yourself. She took the ring, turned it over in her hands. And this does what? It's an anchor, a focus point. You're going to channel Lika into it until it glows. Should take maybe an hour if you're doing it right. And if I'm not doing it right, you'll get a headache and nothing will happen. But you won't burn out because you're not using your own power. You're just redirecting the stream. She held the ring, closed her eyes, and I watched her try to force it, saw her whole body tense with effort, her jaw clenched, her breathing shallow. Nothing happened. Stop. She opened her eyes. I didn't do anything yet. Exactly. You're trying to force it again. Same problem you had with the air barrier. You're treating this like a math problem. If I just push hard enough, calculate precisely enough, it'll work. So, what should I be doing? Ask it. Don't demand, don't command. Ask the stream to flow through you. Use the power word. In Hiligaynon, tubuk. It means to flow, not to force. Tubuk. She repeated it, the pronunciation awkward. Like that? Less like you're ordering it around, more like you're inviting it to dance. She tried again. Better. The ring didn't glow. But I could see the Lika responding, starting to spiral around her hands in thin, barely visible threads. There, keep that. Don't grip it, just guide it. She worked in silence for maybe 20 minutes. I watched, correcting her occasionally, trying very hard not to notice the way her tank top clung to her skin when she breathed, or the small sound of concentration she made when she was focusing, or the "You're staring," Buhawi whispered gleefully. Again, I'm supervising. You're staring at her collarbones. I hate you. No, you don't. The ring flickered. Just slightly. A faint golden glow that lasted maybe 2 seconds before fading. Maya's eyes snapped open. Did you see that? I did it. You touched it. Now do it consistently. She spent the next 45 minutes getting the ring to glow and hold for longer periods. By the end of the session, she could maintain the light for almost 30 seconds before it faded. Progress. Real progress. Good, I said when time was up. Tomorrow we'll work on duration. Eventually, you'll be able to pull from the Lika stream as naturally as breathing. How long did it take you? I thought about my first teacher, my second life, the years of training in a world without internet or modern distractions. Different circumstances, different era. You're doing fine for 3 weeks. That's not an answer either. I'm full of non-answers today. Come on, clean up. I need to lock this place before the security patrol comes through. Week 4, the binding lesson. I'd summoned a minor air spirit, nothing dangerous, just a small Anito that had been hanging around the warehouse, curious about what we were doing. It manifested as a vaguely humanoid shimmer of wind and dust motes, about 3 feet tall, skittish but not hostile. Most modern Babaylan, I explained, keeping my voice low so I didn't spook the spirit. They bind by force, trap the spirit in an artifact like a cage. It works, but it's brutal. The Liga teaches it because it's efficient and reliable. But not ethical, Maya said quietly. No, not really. I gestured at the Anito, which was currently investigating a pile of old shipping pallets. Aurora's method was different. Partnership. You summon, offer a suitable home, an artifact or a place in your Sidlak, provide positive reinforcement, and then ask if they want to stay. Give them a choice. And if they say no? Then they say no, and you find a different spirit. That seems like it could take a long time. It does, which is why I use a hybrid approach. I pulled out a small clay pot. Nothing special, just something I'd picked up at a market. First, you bind with force. Establish dominance. Show them you're strong enough to be worth partnering with. Use the command word, gapuz. It means to bind, to tie. You trap them, but only temporarily. That seems... Let me finish. Once they're bound, then you offer partnership, a good home, respect, positive reinforcement. You show them that working with you is better than being alone or serving someone who'll abuse them. It's not a plea, it's a negotiation, a contract. I demonstrated using a simple binding ritual to trap the Anito in the pot. It resisted, of course it did, but I was stronger and within 30 seconds the spirit was contained. Anito sa hangin, I said formally in the old tongue. I offer you a home, service for shelter, partnership for protection. Will you accept? The spirit buzzed inside the pot, uncertain, testing the boundaries. I held up my Sidlak, let it see the way I treated Aklai, the purified wood I fed him, the respect I showed, the shared combat experiences that had built trust over years. The Anito went still, then slowly it pulsed acceptance. Good. I opened the pot. The spirit emerged, circled my hand once, then settled into a small hollow in a piece of wood I'd brought for exactly this purpose. Now it's bound by choice, not force. It'll be loyal because it wants to be, not because it has to be. Maya was staring. That actually worked. Of course it worked. It's how I bound all of mine. I handed her the clay pot. Your turn, but first you need to summon your own. I don't know how to... You do. You've been pulling Lika for weeks now. Summoning is just asking the stream to send you something compatible. Close your eyes, reach out, tell the universe what you need. She looked skeptical, but closed her eyes anyway. Her Sidlak flared, stronger now than it had been 3 weeks ago, more confident. I watched the Licha stream respond, spiraling around her in patterns that were almost geometric, straight lines and right angles mixed with natural curves, engineer mind meeting mystical power. It shouldn't have worked, it did anyway. The spirit that manifested wasn't minor, wasn't simple, it was big, not physically, but in terms of raw power. It appeared near the leaking pipe Maya had been standing next to, a massive confluence of water and air that couldn't seem to decide which element it preferred. Uh, Maya's eyes were still closed. Is it supposed to feel like this? Like what? Like everything and nothing at the same time? The spirit shifted, water to air to water again, each transformation accompanied by a surge of power that made my teeth ache. Open your eyes, I said quietly. She did, saw the spirit. Her expression went through surprise, confusion, then something like recognition. It's both? Bi-elemental, rare, very rare. I moved closer, studying the entity. It can't stabilize, it's caught between states. What do I do? Bind both aspects. Don't choose. Contract. Power word in Spanish this time. Pacto. Make a deal with both sides simultaneously. That's impossible. So was pulling Lika 3 weeks ago. Do it anyway. She squared her shoulders, raised her hands. Her seedlac blazed, golden and fierce and absolutely beautiful in a way that made my chest hurt. Pacto, she said, her voice ringing with authority she didn't have a month ago. I offer partnership, home for service, respect for power. Will you accept? The spirit went completely still. Then it changed, shifted, stabilized into something I'd never seen before. A unified entity that could flow between water and air forms but maintained coherence in both. It was gorgeous, terrifying, perfectly suited to someone who saw the world in equations and spiritual geometry. Sulfarian, Maya whispered. That's your name. Fluid and breath, engineering and healing. The spirit, Sulfarian, pulsed agreement. It split into 2 aspects. Water form near the pipe, air form circling Maya's head, both moving in perfect synchronization. Akle went absolutely nuclear with pride in my chest. She's a genius, Elias, and she's permanently tied to elemental power now. No walking away from this one. I ignored him, focused on Maya, who was staring at her new companion with an expression of pure wonder. It's perfect, she said softly. It's exactly what I needed. Yeah, my voice came out rougher than I intended. It is. She looked at me, really looked at me, and something in her expression shifted, went from wonder to something warmer, something that made Agos shriek warnings in my mind and Akle purr dangerous encouragement. Thank you, she said, for teaching me this, for trusting me with this. Don't thank me yet. We've still got 5 weeks left. Plenty of time for you to screw up spectacularly. Always so encouraging. It's my gift. She laughed. The sound echoed in the empty warehouse, warm and genuine and completely at odds with the rust and concrete and spiritual power crackling in the air around us. I was in trouble. Serious trouble. The kind that started with good intentions and ended with broken vows and people getting hurt. 5 more weeks, I told myself, just 5 more weeks. Then she leaves and everything goes back to normal. Buhawi laughed. Akle purred. Agos radiated disapproval. And Maya smiled at me like I'd just given her the world. Yeah, I was definitely in trouble.